Hey folks, welcome back to Vert Der Ferk, the channel where a mid-40s Canadian guy with too many cookbooks tries to make sense of them one recipe at a time.
Hey everybody, today's book is going to be More Rhodes Around Britain by Gary Rhodes. So we did the random recipe inside and we came to a vegetarian dish, which is not typically something I mess around with too much. So this is going to be an adventure for me to try to figure out. And we're doing spinach and horseradish crumble. Now, when I think crumble, I think dessert. So I'm kind of curious how the British obviously kind of interpret this in a different way. So we'll see what a spinach dish is. I'm a little skeptical because I said spinach not my favorite thing in the world, but let's see how it goes. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with 6 pieces of bread. It's supposed to be white bread, but this is what I had on available, so we're just going to roll with it. And we're going to take the crusts right off of that. And then right after doing that, we're going to quarter what's left. Okay, 1 ounce of butter, maximum melted. That's it. Okay, and we're gonna mince half an onion. Okay, and turn it off. Now we're gonna take all those good onions that we just chopped up for half an onion. You can also use shallot for this as well if you really want. And we're gonna simmer this sucker over some of the melted butter on the stove, and then we'll get at it. Okay, we've got the butter to a simmer. And now we're going to put that here and just let that kind of cool down. And now it's time to mix up the crumb mix. Yep. Okay, cool. So the next thing is we got to make the crumb. So the easiest way to do that is to take our quartered bread, fire it in a food processor, and then give it a quick blitz. Okay, stop. Okay, so we got our freshly made crumb. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of horseradish to the crumb mix. We're going to take some of our onions that we sauteed with the butter, and we're just going to work in smaller batches. I still have more melted butter over here, and we want to kind of go till it'll hold its shape once you kind of press on it, but it's still kind of loose. Okay, you're good. Okay, I got maybe like a third of that mix, but when I take this mix and I press it together, it's staying as a solid piece, but otherwise it's still kind of loose inside. So I'm going to say that's good to go based on what the recipe book says. All right, the crumble's done. We got our pan heated up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to melt about 1 ounce of butter. Now you can stop. All right, and now we're going to add about 2 pounds of spinach, and this is going to wilt and down big time. Okay, go ahead and stop. Okay, pound number 1 is in there, and I'm going to just slowly start adding pound number 2. Get in there. Okay. Now, the only thing the book says is that if this thing produces a lot of what it calls liquor, so in other words, water, to try to pour it off into a small saucepan, cook it and reduce it, and then throw it back in there to kind of grab that flavor that it's let loose. So far, it doesn't look like that's being a problem. And as you can see, the full 2 pounds are in here, and it's reducing quite well. Okay, so our spinach is now finally kind of wilted down, and we're going to season this up really quick. There's not a whole crazy amount of stuff going on for the recipe, so it just says salt and pepper. I think it's going to need a little bit of help that way. Now, the one ingredient it does recommend to throw in there is a little bit of nutmeg. But the book itself is pretty vague on what it wants. So we'll throw a dash in here and go from there. Okay, turn it off. Okay, so I'm not sure how much nutmeg to put in there, but I'm going to go, anytime I've dealt with nutmeg, less is usually more. So there we go. Good to go. Okay, we're just going to quickly butter a casserole pan to throw this all into. Stop. Okay, we're going to take our cooked spinach that's seasoned with that salt, pepper, and nutmeg, and put it in our buttered dish. All right, and now we top it with our horseradish crumble mix. Okay, now we're ready to put it underneath the broiler until the topping is just nice and brown. So let's go. Hot, hot, hot. All right, and here we go. Horseradish, spinach and horseradish crumble. Just gonna give this a second to cool down. We're gonna taste it and see how it does. Okay. All right, moment of truth. I'm not typically a spinach fan, so I'm curious how this is gonna be. The smell is incredible. The horseradish really comes through. Okay, so not my favorite thing in the world, but what I will say is for people who don't care for spinach, the spinach taste on this is super muted. Like it's very low. The horseradish kind of comes through. It almost has like a honey mustard kind of taste, as weird as that sounds. The way that the horseradish mixes with the nutmeg that's in there a little bit. I can totally see this being like a side dish, especially for like chicken, even on a holiday, like a turkey dinner or something like that. This isn't bad. The crumble is really the star of the show. There's nothing really special about the spinach, but yeah, I definitely can see the appeal of this. Okay, so we just did up the horseradish and spinach crumble. Gary Rhodes, Rhodes Around Britain. It was kind of cool to experience some of the way they label and describe certain items in food. And yeah, so far I'm kind of excited to get more kind of into this and see what we go from there. So success.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more cookbook roulette adventures.